When we were driving up to Huddersfield this morning, I said to Pad in the car, best result today, 1-0 win, late goal, and then everyone's going to be really happy. They'll have shown that they'll have been able to grind out a win, clean sheet, finally end that 12-game losing streak, first league win since the end of February, and they've only gone and done it, and in quite a decent bit of style as well, because Idah scoring the goal, which gives us a great story, doesn't it, off the back of him making the breakthrough at international level with Ireland, comes off the bench and within 6 minutes scores the winning goal on the opening day of the championship season. And the sense of release and relief for Norwich fans, for the players, for the board of directors who were sat just in front of us. We were sort of in a expanded temporary press box, so we were actually in the back row of the directors box, me and Paddy, and we could see Delia, Stuart Webber, Ben Kensell. They applauded the players off the pitch at the end because they dug in, they worked hard. This is just about the best way to start it, because if you go and smash someone on the opening day 5-0, then everyone will say, oh well, all these players are going to be in the shop window now, we're going to be worrying through to the transfer deadline, don't get carried away, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And if they lost, a lot of people would have gone off the deep end. If you read my column in the Pink 'Un or on the Pink 'Un website this morning, I basically was telling people that they needed to let it go, stop going on about the losing streak in the Premier League, and see this as a fresh start. And okay, we only saw 3 of the new boys in the starting lineup today. Puerta made that 4 off the bench. He also came on at the same time as Idah in the 75th minute. Most of this squad were in the Premier League last year. They are inhibited by that horrible run, a club record horrible run that we thankfully don't have to talk about anymore, because it feels like a new adventure has started now. And the smile on Daniel Farke's face was just such a mixture of relief and joy to any time, any league, doesn't matter where you're playing. You get a 1-0 away win, particularly when you score a late goal, you go home happy, don't you? Your fans are happy. Apart from the fact that unfortunately you guys are all still having to watch it on streams on the internet and things like that, and can't be here. And this week we had a bit of a setback, didn't we, with when fans may be in. That's now looking quite uncertain. But for the moment, let's enjoy the positives. And just to indulge in a slightly selfish moment, it's my birthday on Sunday, and I'm working, and I really didn't want to be talking about yet another defeat. A 13th successive defeat would have been a pretty grim thing to have been writing about on my birthday. So I'm very pleased with that. The drive home feels that little bit more fun as well. Got a couple of games to listen to on the way back as well. So a decent away day, but yeah, still so strange to be doing it without fans, isn't it? Without an atmosphere. But because the directors and I think maybe a few family members, things like that, seem to be getting back into directors' boxes now, there was a little bit of atmosphere, and the City subs as well. Some real sort of big ovations and roars of appreciation for some of the things their teammates did. In particular, I think Oliver Skipp and Kenny McLean in central midfield. A few really satisfying moments from both of them when they both really did get stuck in, and Norwich did have to fight here. You know, Huddersfield are starting a new era themselves. Carlos Corberán has come in from Leeds. He was on Marcelo Bielsa's coaching staff, and they looked pretty fired up for him. They worked hard, but they tired in the end. Norwich's quality tired them out, and Norwich were pulling them all over the pitch. And in the end, you could see it coming. Norwich deserved this. They could easily have had a penalty in either half. I've seen the replay of the handball that Kenny McLean strongly appealed for quite early, I think 13th minute, and that's definitely a handball. The Huddersfield defender's arm is high. It definitely makes contact. It's not quite like point blank range or anything. It's an unusual position. That is a penalty, and Norwich should have been ahead earlier, and then this may well have been easy. But in the end, I think the narrative is better, isn't it? That they've had to fight and grind out a 1-0 win, because in the end, you know, you've got Idah, a young man, 19, taking a yellow card to stop a counter-attack, knowing how important it is to hold on to that. You've got Tim Krul at one point, a cross comes into the box and just screams keepers, grabs it, falls to the floor, dives dramatically, takes his time getting up, shouts something at the referee just to break things up. You know, Tim Krul's going to be such an asset to have in the Championship if he continues to play like he did last year, but really he wasn't overly tested today. Norwich did deserve this one. You know, if you just look at the stats, they had 15 shots to Huddersfield 6, 4 on target to Huddersfield's 1. 53% of the possession. I've got the team sheet here, so let's just take a little step back to look at the team that Daniel named. It was 9 changes from that Luton game, which thankfully we can forget about now, because that was a really strange occasion, wasn't it? But Krul in goal, as you'd expect. Max Aaron's back at right back, Godfrey and Zimmerman in central defence. Zimmerman wearing the armband, should have scored in the second half as well, thumped a header over that just sort of nipped the netting as it went over. Javi Quintilla started at left back and was very good. Keep an eye out for the player watch, which will be on the Pinken website on Sunday morning and in the papers on Monday. I followed him closest today, and he was taking all the set pieces, which was a little bit of a surprise, but he's got a cracking corner on him, so that's a real asset to add into the mix that we weren't quite sure of. I mean, obviously Buendia can come back into the mix for the Preston home game next week, so we'll see whether that continues, but he did a lot of good things. Still defensively maybe getting up to speed literally with the pace and strength required, but he's definitely got technique, so some encouraging signs from him at left back today. Ben Godfrey made a couple of sensational recoveries at points. If you remember, there was that video that went viral, I think it was at Stoke towards the end of the 2018-19 season, ice cream van going past, where he just showed that incredible pace and power like a sprinter. And at one point Zimmerman had made a mistake on halfway in the second half when it was still 0-0, and Josh Koroma was clean through, and Godfrey just went like a train, overtook Zimmerman, who just about had kept up with him, but then forced Koroma wide and recovered it. And then there was another one where Godfrey had actually made the mistake and recovered himself, got back and made the tackle on Jonathan Hogg, I think that was. So a lot of good stuff from Ben Godfrey today. Actually, I think if Premier League scouts were watching the stream, then they will have been impressed by quite a bit of what he did. Skip and McLean, not perfect. I don't think either of them controlled play quite as much as they would have liked, but defensively I think they both got through quite a lot of good work that they'll be pleased with, and there was maybe the signs of a little bit of a partnership growing there. And Kenny McLean certainly in the second half made some really vital interceptions, and I thought showed some real leadership. And one of the big things that Daniel Farke likes and maybe gets overlooked a little bit at times with Kenny is that he's so good in the air. Defensively, there was just one, I think it was after the goal, so by that point Norwich was starting to think we need to shut up shop a bit here, and Kenny just ball came forward from Huddersfield, won it on halfway, thumping header out onto halfway. Coaches, subs absolutely loved that, and that's why we've heard so many positive things from Daniel. He's such a reliable and committed player, so if he gets into a rhythm, then like with most of the Norwich players, they're good enough for this level, aren't they? But obviously this is just a starting point, but a good building block to go from. Todd Cantwell started on the right, Kieran Dowell in the central attacking midfield position, Onel Hernandez on the left, and Timu Pukki up front. The first half overall wasn't a great game really. Pukki was very isolated, but he certainly came into things in the second half. Cantwell showed some real flashes of class, got a bit of rough treatment at times, and dealt with it on the whole fine, but did get frustrated. Won quite a few free kicks, which, we've seen the likes of Maddison and Grealish. That's sort of become a part of the modern game, isn't it? Not necessarily diving, but knowing when contact's going to come in on a sort of creative player and taking the foul essentially. So I think he got the referee on side on the whole. Dowell and Cantwell both got booked actually, and I'm not sure, I haven't heard the Huddersfield manager's reaction yet, but I'm not sure whether it played a part in the goal. Early in the second half, Dowell got a very much deserved yellow card, heavy tackle on Richard Stearman, their centre-back, used to play for Wolves. And you could hear he got the ball because just the sound that echoed around, it was clear that he had taken the ball, but he got a lot of the player as well. It was a heavy challenge. And on another day, maybe even with VAR in the Premier League, it might have been worse, but he got a yellow card. So that sort of shook Stearman, and then Cantwell, not long before the goal, had caught Stearman inadvertently. I don't think there was any malice in it, but with an elbow as he went up to try and win a ball in the air, and he went down and maybe was a bit dazed. And then not long after that, Norwich have made that double substitution, 75th minute. Idah and Placheta come on for Dowell and Hernandez, and Stearman just makes a complete wreck. He plays the pass back to the keeper, gets it all wrong, Pucky's clean through, and you think here's the big moment that Timu wants. It's still going back to December of last year since a goal in open play. I think it's 23 matches in all competitions for club and country without a goal in open play, just those 2 penalties during that time. Clean through on goal, but instead just holds up a little bit, allows Adam Idah to catch up with him, bombing into the box, squares to him on the edge of the 6-yard box, goal at his mercy. And Adam just spoke to him after the game actually, and he admitted that when he made contact, he thought he might have put a bit too much on it, and he thought he might put it over, because he absolutely blasted it into the roof of the net, and that was a massive moment for him and for Norwich, and the celebrations for that they really meant something. And I put this on Twitter, but I don't often at Norwich games allow myself to sort of celebrate goals, and obviously I didn't really with this one, but allow just a little celebratory fist pump with that one, because it felt like a big moment after everything that Norwich have been through this year, and as I say, hopefully a building block for better to come. But I'm under no impression at all that this is going to be smooth sailing. It's the Championship. It's going to be a hard fight, a hard slog, and it will be a marathon, not a sprint. But after the goal as well, Pukki again unselfishly teed up Idah when he probably should have scored. Huddersfield, I think it was the midfielder Hogg, had slipped on the edge of the box, and it opened up for Pukki to shoot. But instead, he already had in his mind that he was giving it to Idah in the right channel, and the pass had just a bit too much, and the keeper was able to smother the chance. And then in return, in injury time, I guess Idah was desperate to return the favour, and likewise was clean through and should have been finishing it himself, should have been making the most of it, but just sort of ran out of puff a little bit, and then turned around to try and find Pukki. Eventually Pukki was able to sort of squeeze a low left-footed shot through on goal, but the keeper held it, and he missed his chance. So between the two of them, a quite positive end to the day really, and Adam's obviously spoken so thankfully for the way that Timu unselfishly set that one up. Onal Hernandez did have one decent shot in the first half as well. That was the only real chance of note in a fairly drab first half really. I think both sets of players shaking off some cobwebs. So yeah, a decent contest on the opening day, a positive start. Obviously nothing to get too excited about. Whatever the result was today, I don't think you want to get too excited, because as we all know, you've got 45 games ahead of them. If Norwich to even think about the P word or going back to the Premier League, then they have got a serious amount of hard work to get through yet. And they've got to get through to the transfer deadline, which I think off the top of my head is October the 5th is the first one, which is when the Premier League can no longer do any deals. And then there's just another 2 weeks of a domestic window where Norwich can still do deals. They could still bring in someone from the Premier League, for instance. The Premier League clubs can still loan players out, things like that. But if you were going to be selling one of the crown jewels, as they've become known, then it would have to be before October the 5th, I believe. So still going to take a little bit of time to settle down. But we head back to Carrow Road next Saturday. Preston at home. Then it's the Bournemouth away on the Friday night, and Derby at home before we head into the October international break. So it's going to be... I think the opening stages of the season are going to feel a little bit broken up, and until we come back from that October international break, I don't think we can make too many sweeping judgments about things. But after all that Norwich have been through the last 6 months, and that all Norwich fans have been through, it's been a miserable time for a lot of reasons, isn't it? Let's just enjoy it. They got a little bit of luck, they made the most of it, but they did deserve to win the game overall. A 1-0 away win. Thank you very much. Let's travel home happy with that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll just finish with my man of the match. I think I'd probably just about go Ben Godfrey. I thought he was very good, but I wouldn't say there was a standout today. Thought McLean did some very good things as well, Campwell at points. But yeah, Ben Godfrey would just edge it for me. I think there was some really good work from him in there, but a team performance on the whole today. The sort of day where you can pretty much say, well, sevens throughout the team. There wasn't anyone that was sort of a standout man of the match. But for more, head over to pingdom.com. Paddy's ratings, of course, will be up in the morning. His pointers are up there already. We'll have all the reaction for you. We'll make sure to make the most of this. We'll be recording a pod on the way home, and let's hope we've got some more positives to talk about in the weeks to come. Thanks very much for watching. Catch up with you again soon.